Hi, I'm Bob Caskey with Bob's Maya World Tours. Are you as fed up as I am with staying at home? Just nothing to do, watching Netflix all the time and kind of driving your spouse or your girlfriend kind of crazy? Are you a little depressed about all of this going on? Well, life is not going to be this way forever. And, I really like, one of my favorite things to do is to plan trips, plan vacations. And so I hope that you're going to enjoy this presentation today about one of my favorite all-time adventures that I can share with you. This tour is based on a personal road trip I did a few years ago, and of course, the several decades of travel that I've been able to experience going throughout all of Belize and Guatemala. For this audience, I want to emphasize how easy it is from Merida, or for that matter, to Cancun, to navigate via Chetumal across Belize and into the area close to the Belize border in Guatemala to visit the iconic Tikal and other sites. So, whether you want to drive yourself, create an itinerary and hire a guide plus transport, or join a group tour, this trip is for you. I really want to thank Maya Popovich for her kind assistance with some of the details of the Belize portion of this adventure. But of course, as you can well imagine, any errors are mine alone. Have you ever been wakened in the night by dueling troops of howler monkeys? Tried swimming into a cave system that was used by the ancient Maya for rituals and sacrifices? Or taking a boat trip directly from your hotel to visit spectacular Maya plazas and pyramids and see the surrounding wildlife and flora? This is something that I can guarantee you will never forget. And I've got a couple of optional excursions at the end. So if you've got an additional amount of time that you could very well consider doing. Yes, Virginia, you can drive this route yourself in a normal vehicle, no less. And again, it's something that I've done and can vouch for. Now, a few of the sites are best visited or can only be visited in specialized transport, available to be booked in San Ignacio, Belize, or, as we say, or they say, CAYO, and also the site of YAXHA outside of Tikal is another one that you'll want to arrange, and that one you can arrange ahead of time or in FLORES, Guatemala. Now, you can also arrange to drive or get to Chetumal and hook up with a guide to lead you on the rest of the journey. Of course, alternatively, you can book a tour with me, and we'll all enjoy a holiday together. On the other hand, if you need help with the itinerary and booking hotels and guides, let us handle it for you. Driving one way to Tikal takes about 15 hours in the car with the associated border crossings. But of course, this trip is planned to visit sites in Belize on the way to Guatemala and then double back to get another crack at the additional destinations in Belize on the way back to Guatemala, so you're not spending so much time between spots as you're driving here. You will spend the first and last night of the trip in Chetumal in Mexico on the border. Your gateway towns are really nice, and I love both of them. San Ignacio, or as I said, CAYO in Belize, and the beautiful lake town of Flores, Guatemala. Now, I'm sure many of you might be worried about the road conditions, particularly in Guatemala. Actually, it's one of the easiest parts of the trip. Tikal is located fairly near the Belize frontier, and the road you will take in Guatemala is paved, secure, and fast. Of course, one of my little hints that I will give is that if your Spanish is not so great, you're not so comfortable with that, before you cross the Belize border into Guatemala, make sure you fill up your tank of with gas, just to make it a little bit easier on yourself to do that. The first stop is the Maya site of LAMANAI. It's an amazing place for the natural beauty and the chance to see some very early classic architecture. LAMANAI is perhaps the longest occupied major city in the Maya world. It never suffered from lack of water or the droughts that many other places did, of course because it's surrounded by water, and did not get too involved in the political upheaval and warfare that plagued the area to the west and northwest. I'm going to play a little video here so you can get an idea of the scale of LAMANAI and show some drone footage. It's got some music associated with it. I apologize for that. And it looks as though that these guys are climbing down an incline of like 60 degrees, but don't worry, it's not quite what you see there. And I remember climbing myself and coming back down. It's not so bad, of course. You get a little sweaty by the time you get up to the top of that temple. So here you go, take a little look at this. So yes, sorry about that musical interlude, but LAMANAI, as you can see, is a very special place, and you're going to love to visit, now, no doubt. In the presentation today, I will recommend a few specific lodging options for the tour. The first is LAMANAI Landings. It's easy to reach from the Belize border, again along all paved roads. It's clean and well managed. And of course, in this particular case, it won't break your budget. I propose that you cross the border from Chetumal early in the morning, check into the hotel, and take the boat ride to LAMANAI directly from there. There's a lot to see on the boat ride, and you'll enjoy the special trip. Now, Maya does recommend LAMANAI Outpost, and that's a very appealing option as well. On the upscale side, no doubt, but if you've got the resources, it's definitely something to consider. From LAMANAI, you will go to CAYO, a pleasant town that is the gateway to this area. You can book a hotel in town or in one of the numerous small boutiques outside of the town. There are many, many options available. Visiting the ATM cave is an all-day event that is only available on a guided tour. That really makes a lot of sense if you think about it, because you need special approval to enter the cave system. and you don't want to drive there yourself in any case. That road is pretty bad. So the photo that you see is of the Crystal Maiden, who was sacrificed in a ritual a long, long time ago during the classic era of the Maya. Now, while you're in the cave, you'll see other human remains and other offerings, especially of pottery. But, surprise, surprise, you enter the cave not by walking in, but by swimming into the entrance. Now, you don't have to worry about specialized equipment. A towel, bathing suit, and suitable footwear is all that is needed. It's hard to overstate the impact of seeing and exploring this cave. You really get a sense of how the Maya viewed caves as a portal to the underworld, which was a necessary way station after death. This is a not to miss attraction. Just be careful inside the cave to not damage yourself or any of the physical remains left by the Maya. CARACOL and the Mountain Pine Ridge is another trip that you will book that originates in CAYO. I did this trip in a 4x4 many years ago that I rented, but that was maybe not the best decision. Luckily, the good decision was that a German couple accompanied us because we got stuck in a very large, I wouldn't say puddle, but kind of a lake in the middle of the road. And of course, as you can imagine, much of the road is not paved. So while the drive is spectacular, and you will traverse 7 different microclimates with their own flora, it's not that easy. CARACOL itself is a very large site and extremely important historically. Originally, it was an ally of Tikal, but it switched alliance to the Snake Kingdom, located then at Zibanche, Mexico, near Bacalar, and was instrumental in the first crushing military defeat against Tikal by another Maya city. So let's take a look at this video, and you can get a sense of the scale of exactly what you'll be seeing at the archaeological site. Okay, so on the way to CARACOL or on the way back, you will have the option to stop at the Rio On pools, or as we see here, Big Rock Falls, or there are other stops as well, including the luxurious and famous Blacano Lodge, owned by Francis Ford Coppola. It's on this road also. Other possibilities, and there's just so many here, are the Barton Creek Cave and the Hidden Valley Falls. So this will be one of the trip highlights for sure. Just make sure that when you book that trip to CARACOL, that you get the stops that you are most interested in. So after crossing the border with Guatemala, you'll proceed directly to the picturesque lake town of Flores. There's some nice hotels there, a lot of nice little bars and restaurants. It's a really pretty place, as you can see. Of course, you'll want to exchange money here and stock up for the next few days before making the final leg of this day's journey to the Tikal National Park. And of course, here you might also make some travel plans to get a guide to take you to YAXHA, as we're going to see in just a minute here. So, of all Maya sites, Tikal is considered the crown jewel. Incredible architecture, protected forest with monkeys, all sorts of birds and other wildlife is right at your fingertips. Just a little bit about Tikal itself. Coming out of the Maya pre-classic around 150 AD, Tikal was the preeminent city of the Maya classic era. Aligned with, but eventually attacked by Teotihuacan, which is located outside Mexico City in 378, Tikal recovered its political and military strength for another 2 centuries before becoming involved in a series of wars that lasted 200 years with the Snake Kingdom, which was eventually located in Calakmul, but as I mentioned was at Zibanche previously. Now, although Tikal won the final military engagement in 744 AD, both sides were completely decimated and within a century were basically abandoned, ending the late classic era in the Maya heartland. So the photo that you're seeing right now is from Temple 4. On the left, you're seeing Temple 1 and 2 that face each other, and on the right, Temple 5. And if you're a Star Wars fan, the very first movie, after the Death Star was blown up, you see the heroes coming down to get their awards and be greeted. That clip was actually shot directly here at Tikal, and from the actual viewing point that you see right here. Just another little interesting thing. Now, while you're staying in the Tikal Park, make sure you book a side trip to YAXHA, which is located nearby, but it's on a bad road. You'll want a guide to take you there. It was a rival of Tikal as the two emerged from the pre-classic, but YAXHA was decisively defeated in 378, either by Teotihuacan or along with the forces of Tikal. So this gives you the opportunity to see this very early architecture, because virtually no building took place at the site after this defeat in 378. Now, many people who visit Tikal choose to stay in Flores or a bit closer on the Lago Petén. But I highly suggest you book the Jaguar Inn less than a kilometer away from the entrance to Tikal Park. Now, there are only 2 full-service hotels on site, and Jaguar Inn has the best rooms and pool. To fully see Tikal and YAXHA, you'll spend 2 or 3 nights there. Beating the crowds in the morning and being able to leave the site later in the afternoon at sunset is important. But of course, luckily, next year there shouldn't be too many visitors in any case. So get your vaccine and let's make some plans to go in 2021. So at this point, we've reached the end of going west, and now you're going to head back east towards Belize, and very quickly, it's only about an hour away, you'll be making your way back to the beautiful site of YAXHA. It's located on a large lake and has some just simply incredible views. Now, the architecture is no slouch either. You'll definitely want to climb all the pyramids there and get a glimpse of the lake from on high. Here is the second boat trip available on the trip, which you'll take directly from the hotel. Now, on the boat trip, you'll see an associated ritual site, a little plaza on a small island, and get a good look at the main plaza and understand how the Maya built their monumental architecture to keep an eye out on the approaches to their cities. Can you imagine what a sight it would have been to see the sun glinting off the mainly red and yellow pyramids from the lake? It's something I always think about. And of course, here's just another view of the main plaza in YAXHA, featuring the classic architecture, as you'll see some of the same tablero architecture that you'll see, of course, at Tikal and the other sites that we mentioned here. Now, to visit YAXHA, there's really not much of a choice for lodging. You will definitely want to stay at the YAXHA ECOLODGE El Sombrero. It has been known, it was opened actually, it was owned, and it's been owned and operated by Gabriella, a delightful Italian woman for at least 25 years. She actually established the hotel. I stayed there for the first time over 20 years ago, and it remains as it was. A low-impact, casual, and not luxurious retreat. Now, you won't have air conditioning, but you will be right next to the YAXHA site, and the food, as you can imagine, is very good. It used to be called Campamento El Sombrero, so you can, or camping, so you can see that it's not going to be like Black and No Lodge, for sure. So now you'll cross back into Belize and stay in the CAYO area for another few nights. It's really a laid-back little tourist town, really delightful. But of course, right now they're having flooding problems. But we can imagine that in a few months that will clear up. Those of us who are in Merida this year know all about flooding. So there are two significant sites, Maya sites, located in or near the town. Xunantunich is the larger of the two and played a large historical role in the conflicts between Tikal and the Snake Kingdom, with which they were allied. Strategically located at the confluence of the Mopan and MUKNAL rivers, which were highly important for the transport of goods and people back and forth from the interior area to the Caribbean. You cross the river in a little hand-cranked ferry and climb up the opposite bank to get a great look at the area and the beautiful Maya Plaza. And as you can see, you see some of the most incredibly detailed stucco work on the side of that temple. It's really quite an amazing view. Now, while you're there, of course, you'll want to see the smaller Cajal Pech, directly located in CAYO town and one of the earliest cities established on this major trade route. It's a very, very ancient site and one of the most early sites that has been discovered in Belize. And I can just tell you that what is known now about Belize to scientists is that it really was host to some of the earliest Maya settlements. So let's go on to something else here. Because you haven't yet seen your fill of caves, I encourage you to visit CHECHEM, another important ritual Maya site. Located on the MUKNAL River, there are other places to see and do things, such as tubing on the river, doing hikes, bird watching. There's a butterfly farm there, among other things. So there's plenty to do in this area. Another view of CHECHEM, located within the cave. CERROS Maya is the last stop on this tour. It's located near the Mexico border and right on the Caribbean. CERROS was established by a late pre-classic city, and this is still a little bit undetermined. Many people say it could be El Mirador, which was the largest Maya city in the pre-classic, or even Homul in Guatemala. But it was abandoned during the first collapse of Maya kingdoms around 150. And again, that's during that transition from the pre-classic to the classic. Again, what many people don't realize is that many people understand that there was a Maya collapse, but there were actually two Maya collapses. And CERROS was abandoned after the first Maya pre-classic collapse. So of any site that you can visit, CERROS really gives you the best idea of what pre-classic Maya architecture really looked like. Now, although you need to be prepared for the mosquitoes, I was really surprised by the size of CERROS and some of its pyramids. And if you need to spend the night before you head back into Mexico, you can stay at the nearby CERROS Inn, which is a good budget option. Border crossings, of course, can be interesting if you're not on a tour and doing it yourself. But just relax, stay alert, and ask questions if you're unsure about anything. Now remember, English is an official language in Belize, so that makes things much easier. Crossing here and clearing the Mexico side, which is actually pretty easy, just follow the signs. You'll need, of course, your passport and other documentation. So you'll be then directed to this little shack office where you'll buy some low-cost, mandatory car insurance for your stay in Belize. Then adjacent, you go through a brief mandatory fumigation, not for you, for your car. The border crossing to Guatemala from Belize is a little bit more complicated, but again, just relax and understand that it will take at least an hour to make the crossing. What you're going to do is to park before the immigration hall, enter the hall, and follow the other foreigners to get the paperwork done for yourself. Understand that if you're driving, you're going to have to go into a second line to get all the documentation done for your car. But before you proceed into Guatemala, you must walk a few hundred meters to a small bank, make a payment there, then you must trudge back to the border immigration hall to register your payment. You will undoubtedly be approached by many kids offering help. And although I usually ignore such entreaties, particularly when I know what I'm doing, in this case, just get the help from the kids. It makes things much easier. They know what to do. They know where they're going. They even speak a few words of English, many of them. So go ahead and take advantage of that. You will also, on this border, not the border between Belize and Mexico, but on this border, you will be also harangued before the immigration hall by money changers. So they actually do give you a fairly good rate. You just want to be a little bit careful with these kinds of operations. You probably don't want to transfer all of your money with a money changer right on the border, but it is something that you might want to do for some of the cash that you're going to need. So the tour so far lasts about 11 or 12 days. And if you want to see more of Belize, I offer you two different options. From CAYO, make your way to the Hummingbird Highway, south into the Toledo district. From there, you can take some nice hikes in the Jaguar Reserve and visit, surprise, surprise, a few more Maya sites that are very beautiful and not viewed by many people. Toledo really is a very laid-back place that is surrounded on one side by the Maya Mountains, and of course on the other side by the Caribbean Ocean. And speaking of the beach, be really nice perhaps on your way back to take a few days to hang out on the beach. If you do that, I really recommend that you do spend some time in the Dangriga and Hopkins area to enjoy the Garifuna culture. These are the descendants of African slaves brought to this hemisphere a long time ago. Lots of good food, music, laughter, a really nice laid-back place to hang out. And of course, you'll want to stay a couple nights on one of the keys where you can basically walk from your room and snorkel out to see the incredible reef systems that still haven't been ruined. So if you've tried to see some of these reef formations in Mexico, Mahahual or Playa or Cozumel. It's really, really much different there in the Keys down south. The impact from the number of tourists is very small. I mentioned Southwater Key and Tobacco Key because they are affordable options. You'll probably spend about $100, $125 a night, and sometimes you get your food included for a package tour of about $150 a night. But there are a few upscale key resorts as well that can be recommended for those of you who really want to enjoy yourselves and spend some time at a luxurious key before making your way back to Mexico. So, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Hope you're as pumped up about doing this tour as I am. And if you have any questions, or want to make a session to plan your trip, or to find out about my tour schedule, contact me directly. I love to help people share my passion for travel in the Maya region and look forward to hearing from you. Thanks again, and have a great day.